dead set on going down there to the deepest, darkest, and most mysterious part of the ocean world? Okay, then let the adventure begin. I see you put on a diving mask, a wetsuit, fins and gloves, and an oxygen tank. Are you sure that's all the equipment you'll need to reach the bottom of the Mariana Trench?
Thing is, I hate the ocean, man.
Okay then. You take a flight and then get on a boat that brings you to the western part of the Pacific Ocean, approximately 124 miles away from the Mariana Islands. Now, you're right over
beautiful.
the 1,580-mile-long crescent-shaped trough cutting through the Earth's crust. But as far as I can understand, you'll want to get to the very deepest point of the ocean. In that case, you'll need to travel to the southern part of the Mariana Trench.
So this is the deepest part of the
you'll
ocean.
find the Challenger Deep, a small valley at the dizzying depth of 36,037 feet. However, some researchers state that the thing is even deeper,
jellyfish.
36,201 feet. It's so deep that if you put Mount Everest, which is the tallest mountain in the world, into the Challenger Deep, there would still be over 1 mile between the mountain's peak and the surface of the water. But right now, you're still floating in the water next to your boat, getting ready for the dive of your life. It might be unexpected, but land-dwelling humans are surprisingly good divers. And as you start submerging, you don't have any problems at first. As you get deeper, you feel as if some invisible force is squeezing you from all sides. And
like if you think about how big Mount Everest is, you plop that in this place, in this valley, and it doesn't even reach the top. That is mad.
Pressure is getting stronger. That's the weight of the ocean
comparing
trying
Mount
to
Everest
crush you.
from the bottom,
Usually, people can withstand 3 to 4 atmospheres of pressure without any particular problems. That means that you can submerge to a depth of 130 to 140 feet and still feel fine. But any deeper than that, and you begin to feel some discomfort. Don't worry just yet. Experiments show that the maximum pressure people can withstand is almost 70 atmospheres, and that's 70 times more than you feel on land at sea level. So, keep going, and you might beat the record set by Herbert Nitsch, an Austrian freediver with the nickname the deepest man on Earth. To break his record, you'd have to submerge deeper than he did, and that's 831 feet beneath the surface of the ocean. But hey,
how did he do that?
Strong, and you have the scuba diving equipment. That's why you managed to withstand the pressure of 25 atmospheres and go deeper. During your descent, you notice that it's getting darker. That's because you're leaving the sunlight zone of the ocean and going deeper to the twilight zone, which starts at a depth of 660 feet. You can still pick out the silhouettes of the underwater inhabitants you're traveling past, but everything is dim.
That'd be so scary.
The ever-growing pressure starts to make you worried. You reach the mark of 1,090 feet beneath the surface, and that's the deepest a scuba diver
Imagine
has
how
ever
massive
reached.
light got put in the twilight zone. Imagine how much shit you'd see.
It took Ahmed Gaber, the man who set this record, only 12 minutes to get to this depth, but almost 15 hours to get back to the surface. If he'd been swimming...
What? 15 hours it took him to swim up.
That is mad.
up faster, he wouldn't have made it back alive due to the fatal consequences of a too quick ascent. Anyway, I'm afraid it would be too risky for you to move any deeper without changing your scuba diving suit to something more appropriate and secure. For example, you can put on an atmospheric diving suit, hard-shelled and equipped with everything you might need at a great depth. It's something like what astronauts wear in space, and this suit can take you to a depth of 2,300 feet below the surface. When inside, you won't need to decompress or use special breathing gas. On the other hand, such a suit is super expensive, bulky, and truly awkward to use. So, a much better option would be to give up your diving idea and get inside a special submarine constructed for deep dives. Now, this submarine can take you to the very bottom of the Mariana Trench. Don't worry, there have been attempts before, and they've ended successfully.
Okay, watching a Twitch stream.
2.5 hours
Wait,
to reach your destination. At a
Yeah.
depth of
Oh, his
3,280 feet,
What?
your journey becomes quite boring and monotonous as you enter the midnight zone. No sunlight gets this deep, and the water around you is blanketed
That
in
would be
darkness.
so scary.
And finally, you're there at the Earth's bottom. Outside your submarine, the pressure is simply astonishing. It's more than 1,000 times higher than the standard atmospheric pressure you experience at sea level. That's why, if you decided to leave your reliable shelter for some inexplicable reason and set foot outside, 8 tons of water would press down on each square inch of your body. In other words, imagine 50 jumbo jets placed on top of you. And you can probably guess that you wouldn't last all that long.
Wait,
And if your
what?
submarine
You'd
wasn't so
insta-die?
sturdy at the bottom of the Challenger Deep, well, have you ever stomped on an empty aluminum soda can to crush it? Yeah? Well, that's you. Also, due to this pressure, the water at such depths is incredibly dense. Just 1 unit of volume at the bottom of the Mariana Trench has the same mass as 100 units of water at the surface. And to make matters worse, the temperature around your submarine is close to freezing, from 34 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. But thanks to the spotlights of your submarine, you can see that not all living beings are as terrified of the immense pressure and low temperatures as you are. For example, look at this creature that looks like a giant amoeba. The most amazing thing about it is that it's single-celled, and quite beautiful if we're being honest here. Another inhabitant of the trench is peeking
I don't
into
think
the
it'll ever be
submarine
possible for us to
periscope
go
right
down
now.
to the bottom of the ocean. Like, the actual bottom of the ocean. I don't think it's ever going to be possible.
It resembles a tiny shrimp with a compressed body. And a bit further, you can spot something that looks like a transparent sea cucumber. And apparently, there are lots of them here.
How do they
Finally,
survive?
Even though you can't see it, the Challenger Deep
I think
is
we could
home
go
to more
deep,
than
but I don't think we could ever
200
touch the bottom.
microorganisms that lead a comfortable life holed up in the cozy mud at the bottom. In other words, yeah, we in luck here, under the muck here, under the sea. And if you know where that comes from, leave me a note in the comments. Anyway, you've seen and experienced everything you could on this risky and unusual journey, and it's time to get back to the surface. And while your submarine is going up, let me tell you several amazing things about the Mariana Trench and the Challenger Deep. Even though the Challenger Deep is the deepest point of the ocean, it's not the closest to the center of the Earth. This paradox exists because our planet isn't a perfect sphere. Its radius is about 16 miles smaller at the poles, and that's why some parts of the seabed in the Arctic Ocean are, on average, 8 miles closer to the center of the planet than the bottom of the Challenger Deep. The Mariana Trench is one of the oldest seabeds on Earth. Researchers claim that it may be up to 180 million years old.
What?
At the bottom of the trench, there are hydrothermal vents that emit super acidic fluids, and the temperature around these vents usually reaches 572 degrees, which is 3 times higher than the boiling point of water. But at the same time, the liquid coming out of the vents doesn't boil. The reason is the immense pressure of the water column above.
That is
Now,
mad.
it may sound paradoxical, but the very hot and acidic water that comes out of the vents is what sustains life in that part of the ocean. The thing is that this liquid is rich in minerals that are vital for supporting life.
Yeah, like the ocean's
vent
so
of the
big,
Mariana
man, it's
Trench,
actually crazy.
Not far from Taiwan, is the only place on Earth where you can get liquid carbon dioxide, in case you need it. The bottom of the trench is covered with icky grayish-yellow sludge, which is almost silky to the touch. It's the remains of everything that ends up at the bottom after being crushed by the water pressure.
That is
Speaking
mad.
of pressure, if you learned something new today, then you'd better give the video a like and share it.
That is mad.